Welcome to today's online lecture. In this lecture, we'll be discussing about the concept of class. So these are the major topics which will be covered. We'll be discussing the concept of class, in which we'll be discussing the meaning as well as the definitions and the perspectives of class. So there are two theoretical perspectives, and with that we'll be also focusing upon the Karl Marx view of class as well as Max Weber view of class. So what do you mean by a class? See, class is what? It's again a type of social stratification. As caste is a type form of social stratification, similarly, class is the another type of social stratification. Okay, but when you compare class with the caste, caste can be found in the primitive, or it is basically a feature of a society which is a very a closed one. Okay, so in the caste there's there's no or less mobility, but within the class system there is more mobility, or you can term class to be as an open group. So why open group? It is basically the classes, they represent an open social system, and in this system there is some kind of a vertical social mobility. Okay, and this means that there are no restrictions and or there are mild restrictions which are imposed on the upward or as well as the downward movement of the individuals. So here however, a completely open class system and a completely closed class system, they are only hypothetical. So there will be, but as compared to the other forms or stratification, or if you compare class with the caste system, it has a more kind of a vertical social mobility. So therefore it means it mainly focuses upon the achieved status of an individual. So here mobility means that if an individual belongs from a lower group or lower economic group, we are stating here. So due to his because of his or her own capabilities, skills, knowledge, the person can move up in the ladder, or change there will be change in the living standard of living, the income, the even the facilities which the individual will get. So that is why it is known as a group, but that is an open group, and there is some kind of a vertical social mobility. Okay, and this group which mainly focuses upon the same socioeconomic status of the individual. So here socioeconomic means the income maybe will the group will have the same kind of same amount of income, will be getting wealth or education as well as the other social things. Okay, social aspects or the facilities. So when you talk about the social classes, it mainly focuses upon the two main criteria. So when you talk about class, it means the what amount of wealth will be there and what kind of occupation is there. So you're determining in economic terms. But there are also other criterias which leads to the which leads to the formation of those classes. That is education. There is some kind of prestige, skills, recognition by other also, which also plays a very important part in class formation. So these will be discussing in detail. Like as we know that Karl Marx has mainly focused upon the economic factors, but when you talk about Max Weber, he mainly focused upon the economic as well as non-economic factors in determining the class. So these can be the non-economic factors like honor, prestige, skills. All these will be the non-economic factor. Or if you talk about the education, what kind of education you will get. So it depends upon the class of the individual. Means if you state it in terms of Max Weber, that terms to be as your life chances. So we'll be discussing these in detail later on. So how can we conclude that social class? Yes, it's a group of people who will have the same socioeconomic status, but it does not mean that it will only focuses upon the what kind of wealth you are generating, or how much amount of income is there, but it also focuses upon the other things which comes with that, like with the class, that is the education, what kind of facilities you will get, or the what kind of skills you will generate, or the any recognition by the others, which you talk about the prestige, meaning the prestige. Okay, so these are the definitions. Again, go through these definitions and remember the keywords of these definitions. Okay, Giddens, then we have Houghton Hunt, then we have Ginsburg. So they're mainly focusing upon the economic factors as well as on the non-economic factors, like Ginsburg on focusing upon occupation, wealth, as well as with and education. And there are some kind of things like which are non-economic, which is feeling, attitude, and forms of behavior. Okay. Then we have Karl Marx. A very important definition was given by Karl Marx, that what do you mean by social class? People who will share a common relationship to the means of economic production. Okay, so the owners of the means of economic production will constitute a capitalist class, and the owners or the people who do not own these means of production, for example, factory, land, capital, so they will consist of the another class that termed to be as working class. So he mainly be focusing upon the two types of classes. Okay. And then we have McIver and Page, that is mainly focused upon the class which is marked off from the other social classes. Okay. So these are the perspectives of class. So there are two major perspectives of class. One is nominalistic perspective, another one is your realistic perspective. Okay. Now the nominalist perspective mainly are also termed to be as the American school of thought. Just remember this thing. See, this perspective mainly focuses upon the individuals. Again, this is the key word for this, the nominalist perspective. So it mainly focuses upon that, what is the status of the individuals in a social class with respect to the what that others bestow him on her. Okay, so there was one study which was done by Warner, famous Yankee city in America, that said economic factors are the most important indicator of stratification. So in America, people when you talk about the caste system, which is mainly peculiar to the Indian society. So if you talk about the American society, there are different classes, upper, middle, low classes. So where the economic factors were given more importance of the individual, and he stated that the society is also divided, which is also based upon the what kind of income a person is earning, or occupation, what kind of occupation he or she is pursuing, what kind of education they are getting, and what kind of area of residence will determine all these factors will determine the class of an individual. Okay, so it mainly focusing upon the individuals and what factors are there which will determine an individual class, such as income, occupation, health, or you can say the area of resident of that individual. Okay, now the realistic perspective, on the other hand, it mainly focuses upon